Well, thanks so much for that, Dave. And yes, we do have a little bit of time to squeeze in a couple of questions. The first attendee asks, how much effort is involved in converting to lean process engineering?
Yeah, I think that's a great question on how much effort is involved in converting to lean process engineering. It's a paradigm shift. It involves process engineers to step back and look at their job just the way they look at the manufacturing processes that they're engineering. And just like the people on the floor are somewhat resistant to change, to doing different types of tasks in different places with maybe different tools, engineers have those same basic instincts and those same basic challenges in terms of making those leaps in changing their process. It also requires groups of engineers to trust one another. It's odd to say, but most engineers will understand the fact that they don't always have the greatest confidence in the data they're getting from one source or another. And so they have a tendency to want to recreate it so they know it's right, they know it's accurate. So by using manufacturing data management, we have to find a way to increase the quality and the trust that's going to require all engineers to do their job 100% correctly, because other downstream processes are relying on that information to be accurate and up to date now, because it isn't being recreated by others. So that's probably the biggest challenge, is setting up an organization with the kind of trust needed to allow these systems to actually work. Let me say, though, that using systems like this doesn't, once that trust has been established and that data is shared, doesn't take any more time. In fact, it takes a lot less time than the way they do it today, especially given the fact that the introduction of tools like automatically generated shop floor work instructions or automatic line balancing techniques or video-based time estimation are tremendous productivity tools in their own. It's just a challenge to implement those technologies independently, because they do require data from another source. In other words, if I do line balancing, automatic line balancing, I have to define time and I have to define precedence. Well, if I don't have time to create that data myself and I don't trust the data from the industrial engineering department, then I'm not going to be able to use that tool. But if I do have that data from industrial engineering and I am doing a line balancing study, then of course I can get the job done much quicker with the tools. So it's about trust, and it's about making a change or a paradigm shift really in the business process of how these engineers do the job. And that's going to require some re-education, bringing up a level of capability that they currently don't have.
Okay, Dave, we have time to get one more question in. How do companies justify lean process engineering to upper management and IT?
Well, upper management and IT really need to see the benefits at these highest levels. What can having a system like this do to our ability to attract customers? What does this do to our product quality? What does this do to our market responsiveness? How much does it really cost? Does this add a bunch of engineers, or can we do all of this with the current engineering staff we have? Those have got to be the leading points of value to upper engineering and management. From an IT perspective, I think the biggest thing for them is many of these IT groups are struggling with how do I connect the EBOM generated in PLM, CAD, CAM, and PDM, to the ERP system directly. Okay, now it's just simply a matter, as you might guess, of taking a bill of materials from one system to another, except for the fact, as we mentioned, that bill of materials in the ERP system doesn't necessarily look just like the bill of materials in engineering. Somebody's got to convert the EBOM to the MBOM. Somebody's got to create these phantom parts and assemblies that we actually have to order and manage on the shop floor. And oh, by the way, the CAD designers of the product don't know how things are made. So someone also has to go create a manufacturing process and enter that in. And so the reality is that you can't connect from an IT perspective the PDM system directly to the ERP system and get all the information needed for that ERP system to function. And so therefore we're in that quandary. Do we throw a bunch more engineers at the problem so that we can enter all this extra data for the ERP system, basically looking at it as a big labor data entry exercise? Or do we step back as an IT organization and relook at the very process of how we can get this work into the ERP system efficiently and effectively and timely by providing the industrial engineering department with the tools and the business process that supports what the ERP systems require. And finally, how do we improve the quality of information to the shop floor worker and to the material handler at a level of detail, probably much more so, more detailed than what the ERP system really wants to know. Okay, so the way, as you can see, we've handled that, and the IT people need to understand, is that we're taking the detailed process engineering knowledge that we have when we engineer the process and sending that directly to the floor and directly to the material handlers, and taking the aggregated information that the ERP system needs to plan assembly lines and to order parts, which is really the fundamental goal that the ERP system is trying to support, giving that aggregated information to the ERP system so it can do its job and not overloading it with this extra detail that it really doesn't need. And so the IT people need to understand, and industrial engineering, process engineering, manufacturing engineering department is going to have to communicate to them how these things are different, how this business process really needs to work. And hopefully this presentation has been a good start in providing those organizations the kind of fundamental information material that they need to start that education process.
Well, Dave, I'm sure many people would agree that educating upper management and IT on this topic can be a long and challenging process, and we thank you for sharing your expertise.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jim. I really appreciate being invited by the Global Spec Group to make this presentation, and I've enjoyed talking with you in this particular topic.
Well, it's been our pleasure. Thanks once again.